There we go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
How are you doing? How's Xyla doing?
It's okay.
Any issues with the elevator and stuff, or is she doing well?
No, she's doing well. She'll go in and she'll go sit down automatically.
Okay.
So there haven't been any so far, knock on wood. I've been like, she's even been in there with other dogs and she's been fine. Knock on wood so far.
Sure.
So.
Have you seen any stress, like kind of dipping her head or tucking away a little bit in the elevator?
She does tuck her head sometimes.
Just keep an eye on when you go under, you know, like you have your leash short end, just kind of look at her, be relaxed. And if either you see more often than not signs of tension or like just discomfort, just keep an eye on it.
Okay.
It's going to take her a bit to get used to.
Okay.
As long as it doesn't, you know, of course, escalate. But if you're always paying attention to her, you'll be more aware of like if you start to see the subtle changes from like dipping her head to like maybe puffing up.
Okay.
That'll put. And then if you ever see anything look like kind of asserting herself, like puffing up, maybe more like lifting her head up, you know, just some kind of more so forward type movement in terms of like reactivity, I would just tap right away.
Okay.
Okay. So then you don't see the explosion. But I think you'll be all right.
Okay.
So your mom's helping you today, correct?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And you saw the video of like backing away from the door.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any questions about it?
No.
Okay. Do you happen to have like a threshold in mind of where you would back up Xyla to?
Yeah. Because like there's like a mini hallway and then it opens to the living room. So where the mini hallway opens to the living room, so I would want her in the living room area.
Could you just do a quick little so I can see what the living room looks like? Oh. Okay.
Like there.
Gotcha. And is that like a bed or mattress there?
Yes, because I don't have a sofa.
I'm sorry?
As of right now, yes, because I don't have my sofa. There will be a couch there eventually.
Sure, it's okay. So the only reason I ask is Xyla would most likely gravitate to going to the mattress.
Oh.
Okay, it's okay. But I want you to just, because some people get confused when they back their dog up, because you care about going past the line, the threshold, right? So I can see there you have like there's a threshold from the end of the hallway into the living room space, right?
Yeah.
Is this exercise is simply get out of this space, go over there. I don't care what you do, but just relax, okay? But since there's a bed there, or if there is a bed there, most dogs will jump to the bed, which is fine, but it's not a place command. You know, it's not any kind of command, so she can technically walk off the bed and stuff. You don't say stay, you don't say place, you don't say sit, you don't say down. It's just get out of here, go over there, and leave my guest alone.
Right.
Okay. Any questions before we get started, or just like anything in general with this?
Not with this, but there is one question I have for you that has to do with something else. Should I wait till the end?
No, go ahead.
So when we're walking, for the most part, and we pass other dogs, she doesn't like even pay attention to them. But there are a couple of times where there are a few dogs that we've walked by that their owner kind of just lets their dog run up to Xyla.
Yeah.
So I don't like, should I try to move her to the other side of me? Should I say something to the owner or how should I? Because I don't, yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I mean, I'm fine, like being like, she's not dog friendly, but then at the same time, I feel like, is that too much to say before there could be an interaction? Because a lot of the time, like there are two dogs in particular the past couple of days that I've walked by that their owner just lets their dog like, and by the time I notice it, like their dog's already right next to Xyla. So I don't know if I should like just
So,
pull her to the other side of me, or if I should say something.
in my opinion, I would say something, and I actually just made a video on this exact topic. Okay, I'll send that to you after the lesson on unsuspecting dog owners that just let their dogs do whatever and assume that their dog can say hi to everybody.
Right.
And in the video, you see it's several clips of me saying no. Okay. So the reason why I asked, like, how do you feel about it? If the answer is no, I don't want them greeting Xyla. I don't know them. Like you said, I don't know, because I've seen it happen. I literally saw this happen during a client session where I'm working with my client, and it wasn't us, but on the side of us, someone was walking their dog, and another person said, like, "Oh, my dog's friendly," and then the other person said, "Oh, my dog too," and they got in a fight. Okay, so you never know, right? Realistically speaking, you don't know that dog. You know, the person could say they're friendly, and things go south, and then they're like, "Oh my God, I don't know." It's because there's no control there. Okay, so my thing is, I always err on the side of caution. I say no. If you don't want to be a jerk, you can say, because I'll be very curt with people, because unfortunately, in my experience, if you're too nice, they'll ignore you. Right? You go, "Oh, please no," and they'll say, "Oh, my dog's friendly. Don't worry about it." And it's like, it's not about your dog, right? It's about me and my dog.
Right.
So I just tell people no, or stop, or get away from here. Okay. I'm very direct. If you don't want to be that direct, almost always people will listen to, "Oh, no, thank you, we're training." Okay. So it's a nice way to say no. You shouldn't have to have a reason.
Right.
Okay? But unfortunately, it just, it's not uncommon that happens where people blow it off. But that almost always works.
Okay.
And then you have to process very quickly, because if you do the, "Oh, we're training, no thank you," and they keep coming within a split second, you have to switch to no, right? Because it's not sinking in. They may give you a dirty look. I've had people make comments to me and stuff like that. I'm never going to see them again.
Right.
And if it's your neighbor, like, then whatever, like, it gets complicated. But I'll send you that link so you can get an idea. I'm very straightforward. The moment you see something, I don't care if it's from 30 feet or from 5 feet, you always want to be ahead.
Right.
Okay, so like at the park, we've had plenty of off-leash dogs about to charge us, and you'll see me in the video say, "Oh, hey, can you call your dog?" And they're like 20, 30 feet away, because I'm trying to prevent a potential problem.
Right.
Okay? Other questions?
No.
Nope. Okay.
That was the only issue that I was having.
Yeah, welcome to being in the city. You come across that a lot. Okay. Now, if you wanted to get Xyla to socialize and you're like, "Well, I kind of want to use it to my advantage," I understand that part. If you have friends in the city that have a dog and you'd like to socialize her, try to socialize her, that's more realistic. I even have clients not too far from you that have dogs that they were wanting to socialize as well. So, and I'm actually, which reminds me, I'm supposed to set something up with two of them. So there's two young ladies that live just east of you, maybe like a 5 to 10 minute walk. That if you'd like to kind of push Xyla, I can put you in contact.
Yeah, that would be great, actually.
Okay, I'll make that note of that.
Yeah.
Who is it? It's Coda and Maya. Maya and Xyla. Okay, cool. So do you know how you'll go about approaching the backing Xyla away from the door? Have you tried it at all?
I have not tried it, no.
Okay. So what do you think we might see in the beginning?
Well, she usually doesn't run up to the door. She'll stay further back and just bark. And then, so she'll kind of just hover, like, so that she can see the door and see who's door.
Mm-hmm.
At my parents' house, they had like a glass door, so she would run up to that. But because she can't see through this, she typically just kind of hovers like in the back-ish. So she doesn't run up to the door,
Okay.
but she'll just bark a lot.
Okay, but she does cross the threshold.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So there's going to be two potential things here. Once she learns, some dogs can learn to not cross the threshold. Okay, so what they'll do is they'll still bark, but they'll bark from behind the line. Okay, in the living room area, and the person's like, or the owner's like, oh well, what do I do? Like, you know, the dog's not past the line, so I can't back them up, but they're still barking. Can I let my guests in? They go, no, because they're still escalated. Okay, so if you see that behavior, you would still in this exercise, facing Xyla is super important. Okay, and if anything, always moving towards her to back her off. Okay, those are two things you want to remember. Is if Xyla crosses the threshold, you would begin tapping. We're not saying any words, and what we'll do is we'll start with the leash in the beginning, just in case, if you need to direct her using the leash pressure. But ideally, you want her responding to your body language. Okay, so if I turn to face the dog and I start remoting, when they get the concept, they'll back away. Okay. And you're backing her away to calm her down. So if it's your mom, obviously she doesn't get like super excited, right? And it's great to use people that she's comfortable with, because that's typically harder than when they're suspicious or territorial. Okay, because there's so much like emotion or attachment that they want to really say hi. So if you can get her to hold with your mom and not charge your mom and jump or be super excited, then you should be pretty good if it's like a friend or something that she's not met before. Okay. So you want to be facing Xyla, you're going to be tapping, you're going to back her up. She clears from the threshold. And the moment she goes past the threshold, everything stops. You don't move towards her. You don't keep tapping her. And then you wait and see, what does Xyla do? Okay. She might go and hop on the mattress and then kind of sit there. And I go, okay. And I think, does she look calm? Okay. So if she looks calm, you're good. You're going to turn your back. You're going to go to open the door. Now, there tends to be 5 triggers for this exercise. I think I went over it in the video. Do you remember them?
I don't remember them off my head, the top of my head, but I do remember you going over.
Okay. So for your home, is there like a doorman that buzzes or something that goes to your phone, or do they just?
Yeah, it goes to the phone.
Okay. So first you get a phone call and then you get the door knock.
Yeah.
Right? So Xyla may learn that pattern. Okay. So then what you might find is, even if you just get a regular call, she'll start barking, because she'll learn that the ring means someone's coming to the door. Okay. So it hasn't happened yet. Maybe it doesn't, but a lot of cases it does. Okay. And in some cases, the dog will learn when the owner is talking on the phone, they'll learn to decipher between a regular phone call and a call that someone's coming up. Okay, because it's usually like, hi, you have a guest, and you're like, oh, send them on up, right? Like it's going to become like a formula. So if that happens, you'd want to start there. Okay. So then you got the phone call, maybe you got the door knock. You have the opening the door. Then you have seeing the person behind the door, and then you have the person coming in. Okay. For some dogs, you might have to stop them every single time. So like you'll get the phone call, she starts barking, you back her away, she calms down. They knock on the door, she starts barking, you back her away, you calm her down. You go to open it, she starts barking, you close it, you back her down, right? It's very important that you repeat that process. Okay? Because you have 2 situations. You have your dog and you have your guest. Okay? You always want to take care of your dog first before you address your guest. Okay? So if like your mom's going to be helping you, or like maybe family or people that she's comfortable with, you can let them know like, hey, I'm going to take a little longer because I'm training Xyla. Right? So that they know to expect, like, okay, it's going to be a couple of minutes. They're not, you live like you have like a hallway and stuff, right? Yeah. So that's nice, so that in the wintertime, they're not waiting out in the cold. Okay. So anytime someone comes over, expect to have to do this exercise. Because of the door knock.
Right.
Okay, like it's for Xyla, like because you know mom's coming at 12 o'clock,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Xyla doesn't. So when you hear that phone call, when you get that knock on the door, like you're not surprised. For Xyla will always be surprised. Okay. So very important that you do, if needed, back her up each time, because eventually it will become you back her up once and she settles and it's easy peasy. Okay, ideally.
Right.
Because she'll learn like, okay, I can try to get up 20 times, but mom's just gonna send me right back again.
Right.
Right. So as long as you're consistent, and the first time is always like the hardest. So what, and I'll commit to it. So if it takes me 20 minutes, I spend 20 minutes addressing it because it makes the next time even easier.
Okay.
Okay. What's Xyla's working level been recently,
What do you mean, her?
or e-collar level?
Like 70.
Okay. What we'll do is we'll start off at 45.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll coach you. Do you want to try it first by yourself, or do you want me to coach you through it?
I could try it. I just have one question.
Okay.
So, okay. So I turn around, confront her, and e-collar her until she passes the threshold. Once she passes the threshold, I stop, even if she's still barking.
So if she's still barking, she's not calmed down all the way. Okay. So then just make sure that you're facing Xyla straight. Okay. You don't have to be in front of her face. You just have to be directly facing her. So if Xyla goes off that way, I want to face her like this. Okay. In the hallway. And you're just going to, when she barks, you're going to tap a couple of times. Okay.
Got it.
And then we're going to see what happens. So if she goes bark, 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 and you go tap, 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 and she lays down and calms down, you're good. Okay. Because so you have two conversations. You have get out of here and go over there, right?
Yeah.
But then if she's already over there and she's barking, then what you're doing here is you're kind of like, I don't know, growing up for you, but for me, if I was doing something wrong and my mom looked at me, like I knew to stop, right? Very similar. Like you're giving her that look and you're saying, I disagree with your barking. Okay. Yes, you're past the boundary, but I also need you to not bark. Okay. If we don't see a change, then you're going to bump it. Okay. And we're going to keep bumping it. So eventually we see her go from still escalated to relaxed. Okay. Now, when you do this exercise, you don't want to be facing Xyla as you open the door. Okay. So you're going to be like this and then open the door like that. Okay. You want to make sure you give Xyla your back. Okay. Because if you're facing Xyla and she doesn't move, she's not moving because you're facing her.
Right. Okay.
So when you go to open the door, a lot of people think the dog is behaving, and I'm like, no, they're not charging because you're still facing them. Right. So when you turn your back, she's gonna think, oh, I'm done, and she's gonna try to charge, and then you'll turn to face her, tap, 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 and send her back. Okay. If you might get some confusion because of the obedience. She might sit down, she might lay down, she might come to your side, she might walk to your left, right? So that's what the leash is for. Okay. So if she's having a hard time leaving the space and sticking to you, you grab the leash real close to her collar and pull her away from you. Okay. Past the threshold, right? So you're tapping as you're pulling, and eventually she decides to go forward. Okay. And then you let the leash go and let her figure out what to do. After a few repetitions, she'll learn, like, oh, when mom is doing this and walking to me, it means to move away. Okay? Other questions?
No, that was the only one I had.
Okay, so this is probably going to be a little messy. I'll just let you know right now. Okay, so it's okay. So we'll go ahead and have, your mom's there already, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, is she the one that's going to be stepping out and like knocking on the door and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and have her step out already.
So, did I have her on? Yes, right?
Yeah. And she's only going to knock one time, or a few times, but only one instance.
Okay. Should I be holding on to Xyla's leash, or should I
let it go? Okay. And then tell her to wait like a minute or so before knocking.
Wait a minute or so before knocking. And then just wait. Oh,
Think here. You're at 45, right?
yes.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, so she's past the threshold and she's staring at the door.
Okay. How does her body language look? Tense?
Yeah, her ears are up, her tail is tucked.
Okay, so go ahead and give a couple of taps.
Okay. Oh, no.
Tap, tap.
Wait, now she's sitting. Oh, no, yeah.
Can you move your camera so I can see?
Oh, yeah. Can you see her? Sorry.
Oh, I see her. Okay, so she's standing there?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's okay for now. Go ahead and approach your door. Now turn to face her. Tap, tap, tap.
Can you see her?
There she is, yep. So go ahead and you want to back her up a little bit more because she's a little too close to that threshold. So towards her, tap, tap. Yep, right there. You see how she's kind of slinky?
Yeah.
There you go. Now go to approach your door. Okay, go ahead and try to open it if you're not already.
So we're both in.
Okay. So that's what you're trying to create here is it's not so much her laying down, is that she looks calm.
Okay.
Okay? It should be relatively simple. Now, is that your dad there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would that have changed things?
Possibly, because she went to him instead of like the bed and stuff because familiarity,
Yeah.
right? Comfort. It's nothing bad. But that's the shift that you're looking for because you said initially she was alert, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then you try to tap her, there was some confusion and she started to move around, right?
Right.
So whenever you start the tapping, you want to give space, like so it's like tap, 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 right? And then you stop and you see Xyla move around because she's thinking, what do I have to do? Okay. So then you wait because that's her trying to figure out what to do next. She lays down and then she looks relaxed. Good. Then we turn around, go to the door. Now, are you able to see? I don't think you're able to see her from your doorway there, right? Okay. So.
Should I have the threshold not as far back?
No, you're fine with your threshold. It's just now you have to be a little bit more aware. So, like when you go to approach the door, you want to be listening if you can't see her, right? And what I suggest is when you go, like if you turn the handle or whatever, just take a quick peek back, see if she's moved. And if you see Xyla like peeking around the corner, back her off. Okay? So even though you can't see her, you're just paying attention audibly about is she moving? Right? You hear her tags, you hear her pause. So then I take a moment, take a look, and maybe she snuck up, maybe crossed the threshold, or maybe she's like peeking around the corner. That's already telling me she's thinking about coming forward again. Okay? You back her off again. She goes over to the back of the room. She lays down. Good. Back to the door. Grab the handle. Take a look. Slowly open it. Take a look. Hi, how are you? Take a look. Good. Come on inside. Okay? Now, if it's your mom, let's say she's fine with everything, but maybe when you open the door and she hears your mom's voice or she sees your mom, she goes from laying down to standing up. Right? Because now there's excitement building. Sorry, Mom. Close the door. Okay. Turn to face Xyla. Tap, tap. Settle her down. Okay. Go back to the door, repeat, open, double check. Hi, mom. She hears her voice again. Maybe a little bit of her head pick up. It's fine because it's a little bit. Come on in, right? But maybe when your mom comes in, Xyla stands up. So what you would do is, since it's the door behind you, then your mom is you're in the middle. Right. And that you would turn again to face Xyla, and you would take a couple steps forward and tap to settle her down. Okay, because you're trying to keep her calm as much as possible every step of the way. And in the beginning, it's a lot of work.
Not sure who that is.
Is that a knock?
Yeah, there's somebody at the door.
Okay, go ahead and tell them to wait a minute and try backing her up.
I think it's maintenance. Oh, can you come back in like half hour? Because we're changing a dog. I think it's the air conditioning.
Sure.
Is there water underneath? Not on our side. No, sorry, Jesse.
No, you're fine. Go. You can settle Xyla down if you can.
Should I be tapping her or no?
Correct. So turn to face her, tap, tap. What'd she do now?
So she's laying.
Does she look alert or relaxed?
Alert.
Okay, go ahead and go up to 55. And then tap, tap again.
Now she's relaxed.
Okay. So did you see a difference between 45 to 55?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So always go by how you feel.
Okay.
Okay. Don't worry about Xyla. Don't worry about like, is this right? Because there's no right or wrong in the dog world. Okay. It's what you want and what you don't want. Okay. And it's you, not Xyla. Okay. So if Xyla wants to bark, and I go, I don't want you to bark, and I pay the rent, then you're not going to bark.
Right.
Okay. So, let's say, for example, maintenance man comes by, right? Right now, this depends on how comfortable you are. Like, let's say, I'm assuming if maintenance came by prior to training, like you'd have her kenneled up, or maybe you're holding her and they're coming in.
Yeah, I put her in a crate.
Okay. So they're going to come back in half an hour, right?
Right.
So is your mom and dad there for like a bit, or are they going to leave soon?
No, they're here for a bit.
Okay. So I would use this to my advantage.
Okay.
Because you're going to have a very realistic opportunity. Okay.
Right.
So, but I'll give you some things that you can do to add some precautions just to kind of help you feel a little bit more comfortable. Okay. So the hallway is to your left, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's to the left, entering in. All right. And then do you know where your maintenance man is going to go?
Into the living room.
Okay.
I'm assuming. Yeah.
By the lamp there?
Yes.
Okay, because that's where the air conditioner is.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what I would do is, because like your dad set up to like the left of the screen, right? Is maintenance man's going to come. You're going to do the exact same thing. And if anything, you can operate higher. The higher you are, essentially the more caution you're creating of don't blow up. Okay?
Right.
So you could be 55, 65, whatever. You back her off, and I'm going to assume she's going to go over to your dad. Okay?
Right.
And you can have him hold her leash, but be relaxed.
Okay.
Okay, very important that he's relaxed and he's not holding her back, okay? So if she lays down next to him and he holds her leash and he shortens it, and you do the door thing just like you did with your mom, and she barks, you tap, you settle her, you come back in prior to your maintenance man. Okay, so you come into the threshold and you check on Maya first, and if she looks alert, you say, 1 moment, please.
Okay.
Calm her down, like right now. You went from 45 to 55, and 55 relaxed her. Okay?
Right.
It's going to be the exact same process. And then you step in, okay, come through, and you want to be a buffer between Xyla, you, then your maintenance man.
Okay.
Okay? So If you enter and you block her off and settle her down, and your dad's holding her, she's good. I go, and you want, if you can, have a little bit of a view of Xyla and your maintenance man. Come in this way, please, right? And direct them. So that this way he doesn't cross into her personal threshold, right?
Right.
As he's moving in, Xyla might go, "Who's this?" Right? And maybe she barks. You immediately, all you have to do is pivot, start tapping to settle her. If your dad's holding her, she's not going to get anywhere. Okay, so we want to make sure that he does shorten the leash, not short, not tight. So in case she does anything, she's not going to go anywhere, and you can stop it. Okay. Now, if that seems like too much, you can. Is her crate still set up?
Yeah.
Okay. You can just pop her in the crate. Settling her down in the crate might be a little bit harder. Okay, because now she's confined.
Right.
So for her, her stress levels may go higher because she has no escape. It's, I'm stuck in this kennel and there's someone I don't know in here.
Right.
Okay. If you do that approach, it would be almost the same thing. You know, I would send her in prior. So if let's say 1:30, at 1:25, I kennel Xyla, I close it. The knock happens. One moment. And while she's in the kennel, you just face her. You don't say anything. You're tapping. You raise your number until she relaxes. Once she relaxes, you go to your door, bring your maintenance man in. You tell him like, "Oh, I have a dog, but she's in a kennel. So if you hear barking, it's okay, right?" They come inside. She blows up. She sees the guy, but at least he's not scared because he knows she's kenneled, right? You turn to face her. You're tapping. You bump it as needed. Because she's confined, you may be at a much higher number.
Okay.
And you might get a couple of yips before she finally settles. Okay? So that's why it's important that when you give the taps, you give a little bit of space, 1 second, 2 seconds, nothing more, before tapping again. So if it's bark, 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 tap, 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 bark, 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 just bump it. Okay? Don't even wait like a bunch of times. Like right away I bump it, and I'd go for this jumps of 10 because you want to get it done very quick. Okay? So 45 to 55, bark, 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 tap, 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 right? 55 to 65, bark, 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 tap, tap, tap. 65 to 75, bark, 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 tap, tap, what? And then you wait. And she sits back, and maybe she grumbles. Okay? If she grumbles, tap. Right? And she turns around, lays down, you're good. Okay? What may happen then is ideally if you've settled her, she's fine. But then if your maintenance guy, like maybe they're doing something for like 15 minutes and all of a sudden he turns around and is like, "Okay, Michelle, blah, 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 blah." Now he's talking.
Yeah.
Bark, bark, bark. Okay? You settle her down again. So what she's learning is the behavior that she's practicing is not acceptable. Okay? And that you're disagreeing with it. So it may seem like a lot today, but it becomes a learning experience. And then the next time maintenance comes by, or the next time a friend that she doesn't know comes by, it gets easier and easier. And the next thing you know, she just settles and you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Okay. Question so far?
No.
So the purpose of backing away. So we have your family and everybody she's comfortable with. Okay. And let's say your mom comes, you back Xyla up, she's being calm. What do you think your mom could do to undo all that?
Go towards her?
What else?
Or,
You're close. What else?
just talk?
Just talk.
Something?
Just talk to her. Right? So I suggest in the beginning is that everybody, family and friends that know her, ignore.
Okay.
Make it very easy for you and for Xyla. Okay? Because they're technically undoing what you're creating, which is calmness when people come over.
Right.
Okay? So I'm assuming you may at some point want to expand to like, I would like to have friends over that Xyla doesn't know. Right? Is, let's say, with no training or whatever, or no how to say, conversation to Xyla about calming down. If someone came over, would she just stay barking the whole time? Would she calm down and then bark when they moved? Would she try to like nip at them?
You would eventually calm down, and then like if they moved or like then she would get escalated again.
Yeah. So that's real typical nervous dog behavior. Okay, everything's calm, I'm okay, but then it's the moment someone gets up to use the bathroom or go to the kitchen, or someone starts clapping and says ha ha ha, right? Bark, 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 right? So the way this should look, if you have someone that she's never met before, is you back her up, she lays back, whatever, she's calm, your guest comes in, you of course address everything, and then they cross the threshold. Okay. Once the person crosses the threshold, technically Xyla can interact with them. Okay, because so like let's say you order food and you back up Xyla and they enter the hallway. They would never interact because they only entered the hallway and then left, and Xyla's told she's supposed to be in the living room and she's not allowed in the hallway.
Right.
Okay, so even if she gets up, or whatever, you back her off, she's not allowed to cross that threshold. But if your guest goes from the hallway into the living room, now they've entered Xyla's space.
Right.
Okay, so technically Xyla could then greet them.
Right.
Now, in the beginning, what you might see is, or what you'll probably see is Xyla being indifferent or avoidant of the person.
Yeah.
Okay, so if she's like all the way at the other end of the room and kind of like just observing, they just come in. Okay, they ignore Xyla. And then maybe Xyla settles, and then 20 minutes later, your friend gets up. Xyla jumps up, bark, bark, tap, tap, tap. Okay, so you're disagreeing with her nervous response. So the way it ends up working is there's an action and response, and then the tap. Okay. So the way Xyla's brain works is the next time there's an action and she thinks to bark, she should assume tap, tap, tap. And you're going to see her stop. Okay? If she stops, we don't do anything. Because she stopped herself. And that's how we start to condition new habits. Okay? Is you're teaching her, if you bark when my friend talks, this happens. So then she has to think, well, what happens if I don't bark?
Right.
Nothing happens, right? So she goes, oh, so as long as I'm here relaxed, and when people move, even though I feel nervous, nothing bad happens. Okay, I don't need to bark. Okay, so you need the aversive to teach Xyla to hold her reactions, but in order to do that, you need to have life happen. Okay. I think I remember you saying about Xyla being territorial over like your room or something.
Yeah. Well, she was at my parents' house.
Okay. So we're not sure about in the new place quite yet. Okay. Do you have any concerns if you were to have a guest come over in terms of Xyla's behavior?
No, not really. I mean, other than the barking, no.
Okay, so you're not concerned if you had a guest come over that Xyla might like charge at them or nip at them or start growling at them?
Maybe charge at them.
Okay, so my suggestion would be to take off some anxiety is to muzzle condition if she's not muzzle conditioned already. She's not. So I'm going to send you some videos so you can start that process. It's very simple. Okay, and actually, if you want to do the socialization with other dogs and stuff, it would also come in handy there.
Okay.
Because if you're going to press Xyla and her comfort zones, it's only natural to see these things, right? So with the muzzle on, it helps just make you feel more relaxed because then you're not worried about the charge. Like if it happens, you're not worried about is she going to do any harm, right? Your guests, you'll also have more guests, I would think have more guests that would be willing to help you, because they're like, oh, okay, your dog's going to be muzzled, like I'm not worried then, okay? But trying to do this exercise with no muzzle, and they're going to be like, why? You know, they're going to start questioning you. Is it'll make things more difficult. Okay, so it keeps everybody safe. It helps you relax, keeps your guests relaxed. And if there's a charge, because technically the behavior has to happen in order for the correction to teach Xyla not to do that. Okay. So questions about any of this stuff here? No. Can we try again with the backing up, but could you have your mom either knock harder or louder and like maybe even like jiggle the hand a little bit?
Yeah. No. What did they? Knock harder or louder? And they just stay out, right? Yeah. Yeah. I'll try to. Yeah, wait a few seconds. Should I? No.
Not yet. Not till the bark. Not till the knock happens. Right. Okay.
Can I tap her?
Yep. So a couple more taps. Yep. There you go. Good. Good. And your mom can come in. Yeah, there you go. Good. Yep. Excellent. So just remember, you're not thinking that she's laying down, that she's sitting down or standing. You're thinking calm and relaxed. Okay? And if you don't see a change within just a couple of taps, you bump it, 5, 10 levels. I'd go in 10 just to make the process a little quicker.
Yeah.
And then she yips, you just dip it back down. Okay? It's not about her position, it's about her mental state, which is calmness. Okay? You can also practice this throughout the day. Like for instance, let's say, so you have the hallway, you have the living room. Do you have your own room as well?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the kitchen area?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you're gonna go in the kitchen and cook something. Would Xyla sometimes follow you into there?
Sometimes, but not always.
Okay, what about like if you go in your room and stuff?
Sometimes she'll follow me, sometimes she'll stay in the living room.
Okay, so like let's say you're home and you want to work on just teaching Xyla to recognize thresholds. Yeah. Is if I go in the kitchen and Xyla were to follow me, you would just turn and start tapping her and moving into her to tell her, get out the kitchen. I don't care what you do, but just get out the kitchen. Okay? And that threshold is up until you leave the kitchen. As soon as you leave the kitchen, everything's done. Okay? Same thing when you go into your room, or maybe you're going from your room and Xyla's in there with you to the living room. Right? And then you enter the living room, Xyla's following you, you would turn to face her, tap, 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 back her off into your room, and you're saying, I don't want you in the living room. I don't care what you do, but just stay in here, but stay out the living room. Okay? And once you feel like she's either mastered the concept or you're getting it really well, it's just giving you more opportunities to practice. It'll help make the door exercise easier. Okay, as opposed to waiting for only when your friends or your parents come over or whatever, and only practicing it every now and then. You can also practice it throughout the day like that. You don't have to do it a ton, but just every now and then. If you ever order food, again, when the moment you see her escalate, that's when you want to start the process of calming her down, because it'll make the door knock easier. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you've already started the process. If you try to do everything all at once when the door knock happens, it's going to be a longer process.
That makes sense.
Other questions?
No, not related to this.
Okay. What else do you got?
I just thought of something. So when I unlock my door, it makes a beeping noise.
Okay.
Or when I lock and unlock the door from the outside, it makes a beeping noise. So anytime any other neighbor does it, she barks because she thinks somebody's coming at the door.
Right.
And I've been using the bonker, but that doesn't really prevent her from. I don't know if I just can't hit her hard enough, but I'm trying to hit her as hard as I can. But she still she just ignores that. Is that something I could try using the e-collar with?
You can. The concern is simply that I don't want you to become too collar reliant in the home.
Right.
So like the door is different because there's something behind the door that's going to enter. Okay, that's why that's different. If it's just when my neighbor opens their door and it triggers Xyla because she thinks it's our door, at some point you would want her to just learn to not bark at those sounds, right? Now, has it been consistent that she always barks, or does it seem to be getting less?
It's pretty consistent, I would say.
Okay, so if you're going to do the e-collar, the approach I would do is, let's say between 5 and 7, there's like a ton of traffic in your hallway. Is I'd have her collared up at 4:30. I'd have it very high, like 95 if not maxed out. And the moment like you hear the beep from someone else's door and Xyla starts barking, you could do one of two things. One is when that beep happens and she barks, you just remote. Okay, 3 times, pop, pop, pop. And you might see her go, pop, and like run off. Okay, then I ignore her. And then 20 minutes later, another door beeps and she picks up her head, but she doesn't bark. I still tap, pop, pop, pop. Okay, and then she runs off again. And what you're doing is you're teaching her, don't even care about that sound. Okay, automatically. So the reason for doing it so much higher is that it'll speed up the process and is more likely to be successful when you remove the collar. She's not going to want to gamble that behavior. Okay. Another thing that you can do is same process, but you would say like the term quiet. Okay. So quiet and then pop, pop, pop on the collar. Okay. Or no, pop, pop, pop on the collar. So now you're empowering the word no. Okay. Now the benefit of this is, let's say at 2 o'clock in the morning when your neighbors comes home and they beep their front door and she wakes up and starts barking, you're not going to have the collar on her. You could say no or quiet, right? But she's going to think pop, pop, pop on 127 and she should ideally shut up and like just go and lay down. Okay, so both approaches are beneficial in the sense that one of them eliminates the behavior because that has nothing to do with our door, right? And your door beeping sounds very specific to your home than it does when other people's doors beep, okay? So she can learn to recognize that. It's just a matter of teaching her. Having the verbal cue is also helpful during times when maybe a dog is walking through the hallway and she's not collared up, or if it's like middle of the night, you give that cue and she should just settle. But it's usually a few weeks of that very high correction, very rapidly, pop, pop, pop. To create a very alarming response of and then the runoff, okay? Because you're trying to empower it very quickly, okay? If you also want to do, let's say, for instance, the bonker and film yourself doing it, I can see and tell you whether or not you're doing it correctly, okay? Because chances are, go ahead.
And I could try that, but I would have to catch myself.
I'm sorry,
I would have to try it, but I would have to catch her in the moment, like barking.
Correct, yeah. So don't ever feel rushed, right? So like, let's say she starts barking, you grab your bonker, you start your phone up, and you start recording. And even though she's not barking, as long as she's still alert, you can still do the correction. Okay? And I can see it. I can tell intensity just by looking at it. And technically, like I'll tell people, like, if the dog doesn't take it serious, your intensity is too low, or I keep repeating until eventually the dog goes, holy crap, this isn't fun, and then they give it up. Okay, so sometimes it takes multiple attempts before they go within one context of back-to-back corrections before they go, holy crap, this is not comfortable, and it dissuades them from the behavior. Okay, so I think both of these things work really well together, because the high corrections can potentially make her a little bit more sensitive to other corrections, because she's not wanting to gamble, like making a mistake. But it's just a matter of seeing what's going to work. It is possible that her nervousness is just too high, that when you try to do a physical correction to the bonker, it's not enough to cut through the nervousness. So then that could also be potentially why that's more difficult. Okay? Other questions?
Nope, that was it.
So you have your homework. So you can, right now it's your maintenance man. You can do either approach if you want to try the kennel. The kennel would be an easier approach in the sense that you don't have to worry about Xyla getting loose or whatever. But you also still learn how to settle her down within the crate. If it's difficult for you to do so, again, you can film it and then you can email it to me or text it to me, and I'll review it and I can tell you, what was done incorrectly. And then, you keep trying and applying. Or you can do it with your dad holding the leash, short, good hold, but relaxed, and then seeing if you can get that done. Okay? Anything else? So you have your homework. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. And then, or you can take video or whatever, and I'll get back to you. And then you can give it a couple of weeks. Maybe expect that when you try in a more organic setting, meaning your parents aren't already there, they're going to be coming in, right? It's going to be a little bit more difficult because she's going to be more stimulated because they weren't already just there. Okay, so that's normal. And if you have any difficulties, just let us know, and then we'll set up another session or so. Okay?
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We'll be in touch.
Have a good one. Bye, Jesse.
Bye-bye.